So this part is different from the activities and the low ropes that we were doing. This one is the introduction and the full value contract. So I want to go through a few things when you do your introduction. By the way, this is Bob Gant. Bob ran the challenge course for over 25 years, expert in the field, and so he's going to add a little bit onto it in just a moment. But ultimately, when you do, when you're arriving and you're talking about introduction and then going to full value contract, before the introduction can even occur, there's a few things that you have to do as a facilitator. It's called a pre-check, and those are the 3 E's: your equipment, your elements, and also your environment, but across the whole board. Everything that we've set up, you've already done your 3 E's, but now we're going to do that again at the whole aspect. So things to think about: you need to have an AED and your medical kit out readily available, your standing operating procedures, your risk procedures that would occur in case something were to happen, easily available. That way, if something happened as a facilitator, your participants would know, here's step by step what we need to do in case something happens. Once you've done your full run through, and now you've got to prepare the day. So for example, if we're outdoors, we're going to have water stations available. So you have water igloos, 5-gallon water containers that have ice, water, and that are, again, readily available. Hopefully your participants have water bottles that they can refill. If not, you can have cups, but be sure you have cups that you can mark with a marker. That way they're reusing that same cup all day long. You want to encourage your participants to leave their phones and jewelry in their cars. If they don't feel comfortable leaving their phones in their cars, you can have a bucket where they can collect the phones and you can place them in a safe place. That way they're just not out for anyone to scoop and take away. Jewelry, rings, necklaces, those type of things, when we're doing all these different types of activities, should be placed in their vehicles as well. You can say, well, I can't take off my Aggie ring. Well, let's say we're out here and then your hands get sweaty and it slips off. Once it goes into the dirt, it is forever gone. So be sure that you have your participants put that away. You want to make sure that the bathrooms have been checked for toilet paper, make sure that they're readily available, that way the participants can use that. And then you want to have a large open space for the welcome, okay? Maybe a shaded pavilion, an open area where everybody's in the same spot at once, because you're going to go through the safety procedures of the day as a main facilitator, to introduce your co-facilitators, whatever the case may be, but it's everyone can hear you and they're all in that one spot. Once you bring your participants in and you've told them where to put their phones and their keys and their jewelry and where the water stations are, and you bring them in, that's when you tell them, we have water available. Do you have your water bottles? Great, put those off to the side. If you don't have, we have cups. Our bathrooms are located in this area. If at any point you need to use the restroom, please let us know. You're more than happy to go out. Remind them like how to exit out. A lot of times participants will ask, but also if they're adults, you can say, if you've got to go during an activity, please go. Just make your way back. If you're working with kids, maybe it's more of a, all right, let's make a pause and we'll all go as a group, okay? Having a power of 3, not just letting a kid wander off by themselves. And then again, in the welcome, you talk about challenge by choice and what that means, the philosophy of the facilitation. You want to get them out of their comfort zone, but not in a panic zone. You want to make sure that they're participating, but if they're not comfortable, we can always modify. If they are not limping in, we don't want you to limp out kind of thing, okay? Tell them about some of the things that will be occurring throughout the day. And so be sure that it is challenge by choice, but it doesn't mean you can just sit off to the side and get on your phone and chill in the shade. No, we're going to participate in different ways. We can do things and modify, just communicate to the facilitator. Anything you want to add to challenge by choice?
No.
So then we're going to talk about risk and safety. Overall, if you're in an outdoor space, talk about, hey, we're in the great outdoors. There are bees, there are wasps, there are ants, and ask, is anyone allergic to those? Does anyone know that they're allergic? And then usually most of the time it's like, okay, nobody knows. All right, well, hopefully we don't find out. You know, kind of keep it light, but also you want to discuss. If someone does say, yes, I'm allergic to wasps, then you say, do you have an EpiPen? Like, it's not that serious. Like, okay, you need to know that as a facilitator, because if someone gets stung by something and they're allergic and you don't know that, that can be not a good deal, okay? So we want to make sure that we are very clear with that. Remind them that being in the great outdoors, if they find themselves staying in ants, if I stand next to somebody and I see little black dots crawling all over my friend, then I need to address that. I need to say, hey, ants, there's ants on you. Anything from the ankle down is, I can help out. If it starts going up, tell the participant, you have ants on your legs, you have ants on your legs. Have them move from the ant pile and then start getting the ants off of them, okay? Fortunately, they've been communicated with to have closed-toe shoes. If people arrive in an outdoor setting like this with flip-flops or Crocs like that, you got to have closed-toed shoes. So that's communicated well beforehand. Anything else you want to add to risk and safety? Again, reminding them to stay hydrated. If you have a headache or if you're thirsty, it's a little bit too late. Okay, we want to make sure that we're drinking water. As a facilitator, it's important that you make time during the day for water breaks, to sit in the shade, to make sure, hey, drink some water. Just take a sip for me, okay? You don't have a cup? Let me go get you a cup. Let me write your name on that cup. Really encouraging hydration throughout the day.
I did think of one, making sure they tell you what they are allergic to. We actually had a person out here one time that was allergic to his own sweat. Who's allergic to their own sweat? I've never even heard of that. Thought he was kidding until we were doing the high elements and he was belaying, and I noticed, I walked up on him and I could see the hives coming up on his shoulders and on his arms, and I listened to him and he was just struggling for breath. We had to get that person down quickly and get him an EpiPen, and it was amazing. So yeah, people have weird allergies. Find out what they are, be ready for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And then lastly, after you've gone through all that, this is the time to lead a large group game where it's something that can be easily done. It's something that can be successful. It's something where everyone can kind of be silly and goofy together. It's something that's not too much of a challenge. It's a large group game, so where they're all doing something connected before you get into partnership games and things like that. It's nice to do a big group stretch, or maybe big group energizer, or something again where you as a facilitator, your most energetic person or somebody that has a really great group game can lead, or people feel like, okay, this is fun, like I'm getting into this. Now, as we transition into the games and then we start doing our sequencing, full value contracts is a big part of facilitation. It kind of establishes the barriers, the ground rules of group dynamics for the rest of the day, because we're not just going to be doing games all day. Maybe you are, but still contracts can be really helpful, something to refer back to, specifically if you're a new facilitator. You've noticed in some of the other videos, I had small boards like this. These are really great to use for timekeeping, for scorekeeping, whatever it may be, but not for full value contracts, because it's hard to put a lot of information here. I like to have a big board like this, so that way my participants know, okay, this is like, we can carry this around all day, we can have this with us. But full value contracts, in the textbook it says, hey, let's do welcome, risk, and safety, full value contract games. That's fine. I personally do welcome, all those things. I do games, then full value contract. Bob, what do you do?
I like to do the welcome, the games, and do the first initiative, and then do the full value contract, using some of the stuff from the initiative.
Yes. That's okay, phone call. So we all have our ways, but it's best to do it early on, is what we're getting at. I like to do it after the games when I have my group that I'm going to work with, and I'll talk about what are some things that make a great team. What are some qualities in your teammates that you would like? How do you think people should speak to one another? And have them write it down. If it's their idea, tell them to add it onto the board. And then after that first initiative, be like, hey, we've done group juggle and we learned this, and this. Is there anything that we think we should add to the full value contract? And then this guy is with us all day, and it's just a tool for us to refer back to, going, hey, before we get into this big challenge, remember, here's some things that we agreed on to be a part of a team. So let's make sure we show that in this next activity. So that's your introduction, full value contract. It's a really important part because it does set the tone of the day. You don't want people coming in going, welcome to the, this is the front porch. This is what shows them what this is all about. But you do need to discuss the safety procedures, but you got to lead in and transition well into that fun and to the initiatives, low ropes, high ropes.
The full value contract, I want it to be positive. If I say, let's talk about how we're going to treat each other today, sometimes, especially with kids groups, I would hear, no arguing, no, everything's no. And I'm like, no, let's talk about how we're going to treat each other in a positive manner. That's the stuff I want on my full value contract.
It's a really good way to have some good language. All right, friends, best of luck.